Today we're going to find out what this 12-inch 6-ARC will do to a ballistic dummy at extended ranges, talk pros and cons, reliability, accuracy, and find out if this thing is truly good enough for you to drop what you're doing and pick it up today. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite rifles recently, and that is this 12-inch LMT Spec War, barreled by D. Wilson Manufacturing. We're gonna get into why I believe this caliber really is the future, especially on the civilian side of things for small arms solutions for defending freedom from tyranny, foreign or domestic. We're gonna have a little background discussion as well as some applications for the civilian side of things. Then we're gonna discuss capability, accuracy, reliability, also a list of pros and cons of going with a 6-ARC versus a 5.56 gun. And lastly, we'll dive into this build right here in autistic detail from blast end to ass end, as we always do here on the channel, and give you guys the build list. That way, if you guys want to clone any part of this, you're more than welcome to. So a little bit of background, guys. From a civilian context, I really want you to remember the phrase, to defend freedom from tyranny, foreign or domestic. When I'm talking about civilians owning firearms, that is the quote that I'm referencing. I'm not really referring to home defense, self-defense, or hunting applications, although this is plenty capable for all of those as well. I'm specifically talking about defending your life or your freedom from anyone who wants to take it. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. Now, anyone who's watched the channel for any length of time knows that I absolutely adore long-range shooting. Number one, because it's just absolutely badass. You pull the trigger, you hear the shot go off, and then it takes a second or two for that ring to come back from that steel. That is an absolute unreplaceable feeling to me. I love that feeling more than anything else in shooting. And number two, because from a civilian context, if you are going to be fighting a larger organized military force that has artillery, that has heavy machinery and armored vehicles and whatnot, you're going to want to stay as far away as possible and fight using guerrilla tactics. So that is where the civilian DMR role steps in, because you can maintain a safer distance, further distance between you and the enemy forces while still laying down effective fire and still having effective terminal ballistics on target, whether that be against body armor and other types of cover. And call it what you will, that's my fantasy LARP. I'm the DMR in my squad, and so I really enjoy AR-10s. For those of you who have a keen eye, you probably noticed several of them behind me.
You're goddamn right.
In fact, I have 7 in total, most of them chambered in 308, but several newer ones that are chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, if you guys know me, you also know that I love shorty guns. You know I love the 11.5 and the 12.5 barrel length in the AR-15 because they are so small, they're so lightweight and maneuverable, yet they can still reach out to the 500 or 600 yard marker. However, when I'm fantasizing about my dream LARP, I often find myself conflicted with what I would rather pick up in the event that I need to go meet up with the boys and run some Black Ops. Am I gonna grab the AR-10, be the Overwatch or the DMR in the squad? I'm not gonna have ammo compatibility with anybody. The rifle's gonna be with an optic probably over 12 to 15 pounds. And on top of that, most of those calibers require a longer barrel in order to achieve the velocities that gives them their effective range. So I'm gonna have a heavy, long gun that is not compatible with any of the team. I'm also gonna have limited magazine capacity because that's the nature of the beast. And I'm gonna have to lug all that around on whatever route we're taking through, whatever terrain we're taking, just in case we have a long range engagement or we're holding a post somewhere where we have those open lines of sight. And that is where the 6-ARC comes in. Right here we have a 5.56 ballistic tip critical duty. We have a 168 grain 308 round, and then right here in the center is the 6mm ARC. So as you can tell, it is much closer in size to the 5.56 round as far as overall length goes, but it has a much higher ballistic coefficient than the 308, which allows it to fly smoother through the air and travel further distances before going subsonic. It's also a 108 grain pill versus a 168 grain pill, but it packs a lot of the same energy on target, especially at those extended ranges, as the 308. Is it all the way there? Absolutely not, but it is almost all the way there, and it is quite substantially more than the 5.56. Okay, I'm holding this box of ammunition because this stuff is absolutely a dream for 6-ARC. I have not had the best luck in the past with Hornady match in any other caliber. 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, 5.56, you name it. I've always been able to find better stuff than this white box Hornady match ammunition with their ELDM bullet. But for whatever reason, this D. Wilson barrel and the other 6-ARC guns that I've shot with it, the Noveske barrel as well, absolutely love this ammunition. So moving forward, just keep in mind, all of the references I'm making to velocities and group sizes is with this ammunition. There was only one other ammunition I tested with this. It was a Hornady Black, and we're gonna talk about the issues I had with it here in a minute. But getting back to the capability, this 12-inch SBR you see in front of you is capable of remaining supersonic out past 1,000 yards. Yes, you heard me right. This tiny gun, this tiny package can hit targets accurately, effectively, consistently out past 1,000 yards. Now, prior to me diving into 6-ARC, I'd only shot 1,000 yards with 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor. I had stretched out the legs on my 5.56 gun out to 750, 800 yards on my HK MR 5.56, but again, that bullet is hardly making a mark on the target and it's not swinging it at all because it's got so little energy when it arrives. On the contrary, the 6 ARC arrives with authority.
Impact!
So this is pushing 108 grain slugs out the muzzle at 2465 FPS. Now that's very important to know because unlike its bigger brothers, the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 308, the 6 ARC is much less reliant on the barrel length in order to get its maximum velocity potential. For example, an 18-inch 6 ARC barrel is pushing the same bullet out at about 2650, which is just under 200 FPS gained by an extra 6 inches of barrel length. So you're not sacrificing much velocity to go from 18 inches down to 12 inches. And now you have a much more wieldable firearm, a lighter firearm. All of your attachments are much closer. You can easily clear buildings. Your suppressor and all your attachments are much closer to you. So your fatigue is going to be less. It's just a much more versatile gun and you're not sacrificing very much at all. We can talk about ballistic calculator data all day long, but I am a visual learner and I wanted to actually see what does that translate to on a realistic target. So today we tested this 6 ARC against the Ballistic Dummy Labs Torso, which is the most realistic target that we can get to actually show you guys what it is capable of at extended ranges. Now typically these ballistic gelatin tests are done at point blank range, which I think is pretty silly. So instead of shooting it at point blank with a long range caliber, I decided to set this thing out at 350 yards to give a more accurate representation of what this thing is capable of in a realistic setting. And as you guys can see, the results are absolutely catastrophic. I'm aiming for all headshots here, and as you can see, this gun is ridiculously accurate. After the first couple hits in the mouth and nose area, it blows the back of the neck out, the head slumps to the side, and then we have an absolutely catastrophic hit to the brain of the dummy where you can see it absolutely explode. Even at 350 yards, this 6 ARC is not to mess with, and that is what makes it so effective. And obviously, not to beat a dead dummy, but we had a few rounds left in the mag, so I just decided to keep going until we had a full guillotine effect. So I think it's fair to say the results of this test on 6 ARC, even at extended ranges, blew this guy's mind. Last point I want to make on capability real quick is that when we are at the 1,000-yard marker, this thing is arriving with 315 foot-pounds of energy. For comparison, the LMT MRGGA that has a 14.5-inch barrel that's 2.5 inches longer than this 12-inch 6 ARC right here is going subsonic at 950 yards, and it's also arriving with only 379 foot-pounds of energy at 1,000 yards, which is not much more than the 315 foot-pounds delivered by this 12-inch gun right here. So not only is this a great application for a civilian for the reasons we just mentioned, this is also a great military application. As we've seen recently, the military just adopted the SIG Spear and the 277 Fury round, which are having a ton of issues with, and the average soldier's carrying less ammunition. They're getting more fatigued faster because of the weight of the weapon. And so I think 6 ARC would solve a lot of those problems if the military had just considered it. Now, as I know through some of my industry connections, the military is using 6 ARC actively. It's actually the reason it was created between Noveski and Hornady. But as of right now, it is with some small specialized units and is not being widely adopted as the SIG Spear is. Guys, I have to interject for just one moment to thank the biggest sponsor of the channel, which is Brownells. If you guys want to support the channel, head to rangedaybro.com, check out the discounts page. You can find all the codes and links over there to directly support the channel while saving yourself some money in the meantime. Don't buy anything you don't need, but if you're a degenerate like me and you're gonna buy it anyways, it would mean a lot to me if you use my codes and my links. Thank you so much for the support. So those stats are pretty impressive. The capability, I think, speaks for itself. But none of that really matters if you can't get the slugs there accurately. So how did this thing do on accuracy? And boy, oh boy, do I have some good news for you guys. If you are interested in picking up one of these barrels, you're gonna be extremely happy with the accuracy. In fact, this is the most accurate gas gun I've ever shot in my entire life. I was able to shoot a 10-round group in one tattered hole that was about a pinky size that measured about a 0.7 MOA at 100 yards, and another group that measured at a 0.6 MOA, and I'll roll the photos on the screen so you guys can see for yourselves. I was absolutely blown away with the accuracy out of this thing with those Hornady 108 grain ELDMs. That accuracy absolutely translated to long range shooting where I was stacking bullets at 320 yards off of a tank trap using my Stoic Precision Barricade bag right here. This is their slimline bag. RDB10 will save you guys, you know what, over at Stoic. But I just couldn't believe the accuracy, and time again, no matter how far we push this thing out, I was absolutely stunned by how easy it was to get consistent hits out to those extended ranges. Now that we've covered accuracy, let's move on to reliability. With the Hornady 108 grain ELDMs, we had absolutely no reliability issues. You may notice a little teaser here in the front. This is an unreleased can from Energetic that I'm just showing you guys. I want to tease it a little bit before the final release. However, we did do the majority of this review with the Flow Through 6K from Huxworks. So just keep that in mind as far as reliability goes. We don't have a ton of rounds through this thing with this unreleased can, but where we did run into an issue was with the Hornady Black ammunition. It was 105 grain boat tail hollow point. But just arrived and I was clearing my gun and I pulled out what I thought was a live round, but it was actually just the brass. And as you can see, I noticed a bunch of powder on my mat, and then I look in the barrel and the projectile is stuck in the barrel. This is Hornady Black, 105 grain, 6 arc ammo. When you load the bullet into the chamber, if you need to remove the bullet before you fire it, the bullet itself actually gets jammed into the lands and grooves into the rifling of the barrel. And when you go to extract that bullet, it will actually separate it from the case, the cartridge itself, and the bullet will remain in the barrel itself. So that was a bit of an issue. And that was with factory Hornady Black 105 grain boat tail hollow point. So I myself am not a reloader. I do not do any hand loading, but my friend is. So just to test it out, he took those rounds up to his reloading press in his reloading room, and he pushed them down 20 thou deeper just to give me a little bit more clearance so the bullet's not jamming into the rifling and getting caught on them, so that I can reliably extract them without having to fire the round out or use a punch to punch the bullet out, and then I have gunpowder dumping into my lower receiver. So that was a bit of an issue. According to my friend, that is pretty standard for accurized rifles that have very tight tolerances, which obviously clearly this barrel is very capable of extreme accuracy, but that is something that you should be aware of. I don't know if D. Wilson has fixed that issue. That's something I'll let you guys know down in the description or in the comments below. I'm gonna reach out to them after this video. Now that's not a huge issue for me because even after he reseated those an extra 20 thou, the group that it came out with was not ideal. It was about 1 inch to 1.2 inches, so wasn't great. It's also about the same price as the 108 grain ELDMs. And I'm sorry I don't have more data for you guys. There's just not a whole lot of variety in the 6 arc ammunition right now, which is again one of the cons, which we're gonna get into here shortly. So now that we've covered some background, my passion for long range shooting, the capability, the accuracy, the reliability, let's go ahead and talk about some pros and cons. So first and foremost, there's some really obvious pros here, right? Like the effective range, the energy on target, the lack of recoil. Recoil is just like a 5.56 gun. The ammo capacity, thanks to Geisley and their 29 round magazines, YouTube, 29 round mags from Geisley. So you don't have to worry about losing ammunition capacity. You could also use all the same pouches and everything. This is a standard AR. Standard AR pouches will work with these magazines as well. You have a lot of the same compatibility of parts besides the magazines, the bolt, and the barrel itself, obviously. And you have somewhat affordable ammunition when you're comparing it to accurized ammo for 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, or even 5.56 in a lot of cases. So what are the cons? Range day, bro, you're just talking like it's all sunshine and rainbows. There's definitely some cons that a lot of you guys have probably heard if you're considering 6 arc or if you already got into it. So I'm gonna try to prioritize based off of the biggest cons to the least of my concerns, starting with the biggest cons being longevity. Because this fits in the same AR-15 platform, the bolt face itself has very thin walls, and we've heard about longevity issues. Some bolts falling around the 2,000 to 3,000 round mark, and others alleging that they'll last to 5 or even 8 or 10,000 rounds. So only time will tell, guys. We only have about 500 rounds to this rifle itself. It is running the JP bolt, but more on that when we cover the setup. Now, in line with that would be reliability, but since the Geisley mags have come out, I've also sent a ton of rounds through Duramags as well, the little curved 26 rounders. And since these mags have seemed to have improved, I've had no reliability issues with the ammunitions that we've stated. So reliability really isn't as big of a con as it was when I was getting into it and when I was hearing about all these issues with reliability. Next would be gas or recoil, but I found with the systems that I'm running, if they're properly tuned, it is absolutely no issue at all. It shoots just like an AR-15, it recoils the same way. You can get just as quick follow-up shots at longer ranges. So lastly, it comes down to ammo, and there's several categories here. Ammo price, because there's not really a great FMJ option right now for just plinking or for a cheaper option if you want to have volume. Second is ammo compatibility with the rest of your squad or your team. If everyone else that you run with is running 5.56, that then removes your capacity to use their ammo or to loan ammo out to them. And lastly is the mags are also quite a bit more expensive than your standard PMag that have been around for forever and that are extremely reliable. And in an effort to keep this video under 45 minutes long, I'm gonna move on from the pros and cons list. I'm sure there's a ton I forgot, so let me know down in the comments what you believe is the actual pros and cons of 6 ARC versus 5.56, or even versus the AR-10, which I think is a better comparison for it. This video is sponsored by Kinetic Development Group, guys. Kinetic Development Group makes some pretty awesome stuff, otherwise known as KDG. As you can see, my scar is pretty much unrecognizable because of all the KDG drip that we have on it, including this brand new stock that they have in collaboration with Haga Defense. We also have the KDG Radian conversion here for the Scar 17. We have their rail, their MREX rail, which they're super famous for, and a ton of other goodies on this thing. Another one of their products I've been using an absolute ton lately is their quick detach M-LOK mount for the Garmin chronograph. Every single review that I shoot, I take that thing out. It makes chronoing your gun super easy. You don't have to worry about setting it up perfectly. It just stays on the rail itself. And as you're shooting, as you're moving, I've used it on barricades. I've used it in matches. It's absolutely a game changer if you have a Garmin chrono. I love that thing. So big shout out to Kinetic Development Group. If you guys want to support the channel, head over there and use RDB10. Let them know that I sent you. Thank you so much. Back to the video. So now that we've covered a little bit of background, my own passion for long range shooting, as well as the capability of the 6 ARC, both for the civilian side and the military side, we've covered accuracy and reliability. Now I want to talk to you guys about the setup that we have here from blast end to ass end. As we've already mentioned, a little bit of a teaser on a can here, an absolutely drop dead sexy can that I had a big part in developing. So I want to give a huge shout out to Energetic for actually taking my feedback and creating this can. It sounds amazing. We're gonna have a lot more for you guys coming on that in the near future. But moving back from there, it is also using Energetic's brand new hub adapter mount. This is a Plan B compatible mount. It is on a CAC Industries flash hider in the front. It is a Plan B compatible flash hider. It is 5/8 by 24, and I believe it has a 9mm bore, so you don't have to worry about what caliber you're putting on. If you're putting on a 9mm PCC, it works. I'm a big fan of the CAC muzzle devices, and also this Energetic hub adapter because it's super lightweight and super slim. It does not extend the can too much, and that is obviously all attached to the dimpled, beautiful barrel from D. Wilson Manufacturing. I'll show you guys some close-up footage of this thing. It looks absolutely amazing. The fit and finish is phenomenal. I believe if you order one now, it will come with a black Cerakote or black nitrite. I cannot confirm or deny that. It will also come with an LMT factory gas block, which this one does not have, but I've had no issues with it. It is a mid-length gas system. I do kind of wish I had the LMT gas block with the straight gas tube, but it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers. That is all housed in the MRP upper, which is the monolithic rail platform upper. This is the Spec War upper, so it is an 11.5-inch upper receiver group, one piece. So to remove the barrel, you could do quick barrel swaps with this thing as long as you take the M-LOK attachments off, which on this guy right now, all we have is the pick section in the front for bipod work or tripod work. And you could just undo these two bolts in the back here, slide the barrel out, swap it out for whatever you want. I obviously have a 12.5-inch 5.56 barrel for this gun. Now inside the upper, we have a CAC Industries chrome lined sand cutter downward venting BCG. That is housing a 6 ARC JP bolt, which I've had no issues with whatsoever. And they are allegedly one of the better ones in the market as far as I can tell. It's really Geisley, JP, and Noveske that people are recommending, but I haven't done the round counts to be able to say that is true or untrue. But we do have a Geisley airborne charging handle. I absolutely adore these charging handles. They go in every single gun that will take one and that could put them in. Up top, we have the Primary Arms SLX 3-18. I absolutely adore this optic, guys, and they are also an affiliate. So if you head over to rangedaybro.com and click on the Primary Arms link, all of the shopping over there will support the channel. So thank you so much for doing so. I am a huge fan of this budget optic. It is in their SLX mount as well. The only complaint I really have about this optic is that the elevation turret is so large that it removes the possibility of using a top dot without some kind of sky high riser on it. As you can see, it has an RMR footprint right here, but there's just nothing will be able to be seen past this big turret. So that is the only downside of optic like this, but it's extremely cost effective. The glass is phenomenal. The reticle is even better. I'm a big fan of this thing. I can't say enough good things about it for the price. It may look a little silly, but again, when you remember that this gun is capable of shooting 1,000 yards, it justifies the magnification. And I am a magnification whore.
Impact. Impact.
The higher I can get on the magnification, the better it is for me. Now underneath here, we have the Stoic Solutions Slimline Barricade Bag. Again, RDB10, that's your key to all of the codes, guys. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. It's a game changer when you're shooting off of barricades like a tank trap or any type of barricade, really. I absolutely love this thing. It changes the game. It allows you to get effective hits, stable shots. and I couldn't do it without it, really. Moving down into the lower, you guys have seen this lower 1,000 times on the channel. I'll really quickly cover it. This is my oldest SBR lower that I have. It's a Daniel Defense lower, but everything's been swapped on it. We have a Geisley SSAEX with the lightning bow trigger here. That's a whole mouthful, but it's the best AR trigger I've ever used in my entire life. We have a Maritime bolt catch over here on the left-hand side. We have an HRF Concepts magazine well. Don't even know who makes this trigger guard. Geisley Automatics A17 grip. I get a lot of questions about this grip. I absolutely love it. It looks great, feels great. Radiant Talon Ambi Selector. It's my go-to on every gun I have. And then we're running the Geisley H3 buffer weight with a braided wire buffer spring in here. B5 SOT mod stock. It's not the LMT. It's quite a bit cheaper than the LMT, in fact. And just a standard Daniel Defense buffer tube and rear QD back plate here. So that covers the lower receiver, I believe, and that completes the overall review of the gun. So what are my final thoughts here, guys? Is 6-ARC going to replace 5.56? Is it a real competitor to 5.56? And the answer is no. I think it's a much larger competitor to 308 and AR-10 or large frame gas guns that are pushing 12 to 14 to 15 pounds sometimes with optics, and you're really limited by your ammunition capacity. You're getting a lot more recoil, so your follow-up shots are slower. You're not able to track your traces easily and spot your misses. I know that as a huge fan of the AR-10 platform or large frame gas guns in general, like the SCAR 17, so on and so forth, insert your favorite one here. I'm a huge fan of those guns, but after shooting 6-ARC and seeing what it can do in an even smaller, lighter platform with less recoil, more ammunition, all of the advantages that 6-ARC offers, I really don't see a reason to go to a larger, heavier platform just to gain 64 foot-pounds of energy at those extended ranges. I don't think that trade-off is really worth it. And I think that as time goes on, ammunition is going to get cheaper. There's going to be a greater variety of ammunition, and more people are going to start running 6-ARC, so the compatibility issue is not going to be as great either. So I really don't see the downside. And I, for one, can finally answer the question, if I'm gonna leave this house and go meet up with a squad and I don't know what I'm gonna get into, I don't know what ranges it's gonna be at, it might be CQB, it might be 1,000 yards, now I have the answer to what gun I'm gonna grab. It's this one right here.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
So if you guys agree, let me know down in the comments. If you disagree, also let me know down in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on 6-ARC? Are you guys as obsessed as I am with it? I have accumulated, it seems like 10 6-ARC guns in the last like 4 months. So I have quite an obsession. The second I shot that 801 Weapon Works with the Noveske barrel out to 1,000 yards with the first round impact, I absolutely fell in love. And I think you guys will too if you haven't shot it yet. I can't wait to put a thermal in this thing and really start to experience all that 6-ARC has to offer. And I hope you guys will tag along for the ride. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing. It's free, it helps the channel out a ton. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, head to rangedaybro.com. Check out our discounts page, our affiliates page, our loadouts page. This will be up there shortly. Make sure you subscribe to our email list, pick up any merch you might like. Also, guys, we have the Patreon. So if you want to contribute, if you want to weigh in on future topics here on the channel, you can go over there and join the Patreon for a small monthly fee. You get early access and direct access to yours truly. So thank you to everyone who does so. And as always, guys, drink a lot of water. Christ is king. Stay safe, stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out.